Good afternoon, everyone. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all today in this session. My name is Hafsa and I'm the student of University of Dhaka. I'm truly honored to be your host for this insightful and wonderful evening. This wonderful event has been organized by School of Entrepreneurship Development. SED is a platform dedicated to empowering students by helping them explore entrepreneurship, transform ideas into impactful ventures, and develop the skills needed to succeed in today's competitive world. Their continuous efforts in nurturing young innovators and future business leaders is truly commendable. Now, it is time to introduce our esteemed speaker for today. We are honored to have Mr. Arta with us, a startup mentor and lecturer of entrepreneurship. She is a passionate advocate for women empowerment, has inspired countless young minds through her work. So, ma'am, how are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very well. I'm based in Kosovo, so for me it's still breakfast now. It's 10 a.m. and it's my pleasure to share the studio with you and with students. So thank you once again.
Before we begin the presentation, I would like to ask you a question. What are the key skills you developed during your student life that help you in your professional one?
That's a wonderful question. Thank you for asking, because I feel that sometimes we forget what made us succeed compared to our peers. Curiosity was my number one greatest weapon that helped me a lot, because everywhere I've been, in the class, outside class, speaking with people, I was just curious to ask questions, and that led to many interesting conversation and in the future also possibilities. I also was very keen in trying things. I never really thought that, okay, I can do this or that, but instead I was like, okay, let me try. If I can, I'll do it. If not, I'll just say that I cannot do it. I was not afraid from failure, and I was not afraid to try new things. So this was also a very important aspect. And everywhere I've been, I was really trying hard to get the most out of it, because sometimes you're in a class, but you're a passive listener, and sometimes you're in the class and you're active listener and active speaker. And these two make a huge difference for your future career.
Okay, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insight. Now, without any further delay, I would like to invite you to begin your presentation.
Thank you so much. So I believe that most of your students sometimes fear that business is something very big and maybe difficult, and that you have to know so many things before starting. So the topic was indeed for those that are aspiring entrepreneurs, or those that simply want to think like a founder, like a leader in the world that is very, very uncertain. I'm teaching entrepreneurship and innovation at Heimerer College, where I talk a lot about entrepreneurship mindset, which also helps us at the intrapreneurship level. So reclaiming business, it's not a suit, it's a solution. I think in an uncertain world that we live in, the number one thing that the younger generation will need to have in mind is problem solving. So many students see business as complex, spreadsheet, high risk investment, lots of important meetings. But the reality is that business is quite simple. It's an act of solving a problem for someone else. And if we look at the founder's lens, we don't look for business ideas. Because sometimes, of course, with AI, we have lots of communication now in terms of finding the best ideas. But what's very important is to look for frustration. So even going in a shopping mall or buying something in a grocery store, you see something that is missing. You see something that people are frustrated. And then you find that something that is broken, you actually have a potential for a new venture or for a new company. And I try to tell this to my students as well, that, once you start to see things as a founder, you actually see that everyone could see this, but only those that have the mindset of a founder actually realize that. For instance, you go in a hospital, you see lots of issues there, and you kind of say, okay, this is something that I can change. Of course, we cannot change everything, but some of the things probably are not so difficult for us to start thinking about it. So you don't need to actually have an MBA to start. You just need to be an observer. When you go somewhere, or if you're like attached to something, then you start thinking about what is happening out there and what's my capabilities to change that. It's very important to have an experimental mindset, meaning that world is uncertain, no one knows what's happening. Especially in the last 2-3 years, we've seen not very good news out there. However, sometimes people think that now it's the worst time to do business, or what if I'm wrong, or maybe I find today a solution that tomorrow won't work. So it's this rapid change that is a big challenge for everyone, not just students, not just for adults. But then once you have this experimental mindset, I believe that things get a little clearer than they used to be. So instead of building this 50-page business plan that we used to use in the past, at least, I'm not sure if in Bangladesh and in other countries business plan is still a thing, but in majority of the countries and in different schools, it's a one-pager experiment with business model canvas. So you have hypothesis versus facts. It's impossible to have all the facts, but then you always have this hypothesis aspect when you say, like, okay, I believe if I do A to impact B, it will be a very important solution. So you start from that. And of course, you do a lot of research for that. Of course, you have a lot of backed data for that. But you take it from this minimal risk and you don't go all only on a highly serious fact aspect way. Low stake testing. Before, people used to have like a perfect product, like more features, more things to do, so that once you do the launch, it's something that you expect to have an outcome that is positively related to what you did. However, with this minimum viable product approach, it is much easier now to try something. I, for instance, did an experiment with myself. I created this personal portfolio, which in the end you would see the link. And it took me 1.5 hours, like literally 1.5 hours to create. And I'm not an engineer. I have no idea how to code. So today is quite easy to show someone an idea that is a bit more developed. So in the past, people used to talk, and for some other people, this was imagination. It was something very abstract that people did not understand. That's why this design thinking approach in the past was something like people used to draw on a white paper and say, like, this is exactly how I see the architecture of this solution. In today's world, you can do that for free using all the AI technology out there to start testing your idea. What you can do is this 5-5-5, what's known. So you kind of send it first to 5 people. That could be your friends, your family, or mix of those. And you can just say, please give me your thoughts. What do you think about that? And then you reach out to potential clients. You only need 5 people, either to give you feedback or to actually be able to pay for this solution that you're providing. And then you're good to go based on what you already have in the beginning. This is the low stake testing, and then you move to the next step. Micro wins is the other thing, where you focus on one person to say yes or one person to use your service. It's extremely important to have this first client. Everyone remembers the first client, because that's the person, the company that helps you the most to understand what is actually happening in your product or service that you're offering. And this builds this self-efficiency needed to tackle bigger challenges. Action beats hesitation. This is my one of my main manifesto that I use a lot in my life. We all have hesitation, and even in the most successful leaders, I've seen a lot of hesitation. But what the difference is that those that are really risk takers, they don't overthink. They overthink in silence, but then when it comes to action, that really beats the hesitation. And students sometimes wait for this perfect time or perfect tech or perfect team. So start before you're ready. This is very important. That world doesn't reward the smartest people. It rewards people who show up and try. And the more you try, the more you learn. So even if it was a failure or something, it's a learning process. It's a sequence that can help you in the future. The other thing is that the first version of your product or service will absolutely be bad. And sometimes people feel ashamed and say like, oh my God, what did I do? Like, this is not what I wanted to build. But this is the process of growing. That's okay. Every expert was once a beginner who refused to quit. Third is the affordable loss. So you always have to ask yourself, what's the smallest step I can take where even if it falls, I'm better off for having tried. For instance, I have tried my first business in textile industry where we did hand knitted jumpers. I already had a job and I was actually bringing a new life, my son at that time. So I was already busy, but then I was saying, okay, instead of scrolling or spending time with people that might not be giving me the best advices, I'll try something new to see if I'm capable in actually using these marginalized groups to create something. And we actually sold most of them in Canada. So I still did an exercise. In the end, I realized that this was a lot of work from my side with very little reward financially. So I stopped it. But I did not regret for a single day that I tried this, because now it's very easy to advise people what to do. Like, it's the easiest thing, but trying yourself is not very easy, because I literally had to do everything from analyzing the yarn to dealing with ladies that had family issues, that I had to listen to all of that so that they would be able to finish that product. So it was a very important lesson, I would say. Building your personal ecosystem. Entrepreneurship is a team sport. Even in a solo sport, you always have a coach. You always have someone that is helping you. So it's almost impossible to succeed alone. And you don't have to know everything if you know the right people who do the job that could kind of spread with your work. Your circle is your ceiling. I have had the chance to work with different categories, with rape victims during the war, with marginalized group, with those that are super successful leaders from Kosovo and abroad. And one thing I realized is that it's extremely important who you surround yourself with. Because I've had cases where I would be talking about business and then they would say, I had this idea, but everyone told me that, oh, come on, you are not capable to do something simple at home, let alone to do business. So it's this absolute high level of discouragement from your ceiling, from your circle, that sometimes make even simpler thing more difficult to do. And instead of deciding to quit or to listen to them or to say something against them, it's extremely important to find someone who supports you, who believes in you. That not necessarily can be your family. It could be some other friend other than those that are discouraging you. But it's extremely important to find someone who thinks that you deserve more, you deserve better. I remember when I was invited to have a lecture in front of international students, and I had my mentor there with me, who absolutely changed a lot in me in the last 2 years, professionally for good. And I told him, please stay in the class and take notes. And I am very capable to listen to every criticism that you give me, but be honest with me. And once it was done, I was not happy with me, by the way, because I just thought that I could perform a lot better than what I did. Once I finished the class, I told him, so what do you think? And I was expecting like blowing of all these criticism. And he's like, you're not for these rooms. And I was staring at him, waiting, why? He said, you are for much bigger rooms. You should go in other countries where the room is with 500 people. You're born this and that. And I never ever heard all of these words, and it meant the world to me, because it wasn't something like, okay, I'm just tapping in your shoulders and showing you how pretty you are. It was professional feedback that could actually help you a lot. So that's why I realized that this circle is actually your ceiling. So you could be here and you could be there. It really depends where you want to be. The mentorship. It's very important to not look only for bosses. Sometimes those that are super difficult, they are very bad people and very bad mentors. It's important to have someone who cares about you and someone who actually thinks that your potential is higher than you think. So these are the kind of people you want to look for, to collaborate, and that also challenge your thinking. Not to be someone that says like, oh, you're very good at this and blah blah blah, but also someone that gives you feedback, criticism to be better. Community over competition. The mindset of competition is like, I want to beat this and I want to do this just because of him or her. Community is, you see everything as a possibility. Like, my sister is a doctor. She's a dentist in Germany, and I was talking to her how they manage patient. Sometimes they never think that health sector is a sector, and we still think about this business mindset. And she was saying that, if we go on holidays, sometimes for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, of course, patient call and they want to go and visit the same doctor, especially when it comes to dentist. What they do is they always recommend other doctors and say like, okay, if you're in this town, you have these doctors that could do the work. So of course, everyone wants to have more money and have their patients that are only, using these doctors. But in reality, they have a lot more patients, because what they did is the community mindset, where today I'm on holiday and I'm giving you this recommendation, but tomorrow this other doctor is on holiday and they would do the same for us. So it changes a lot when it comes to communication as well, because the patient don't need to be in pain and wait for you for days until you come, but instead you say like, okay, I'm actually thinking about you to fix your problem, instead of keeping you that you're only my patient. So your network is also your safety net. Future-proofing yourself, whether you start a company or join one, thinking like a founder makes you an indispensable type of person. While others fear challenge, like, AI shifting markets and everything, founders see it as a new set of tools to play with. So AI will not replace people. AI will replace those that don't know how to use AI. So that's why it's very important to be adaptable with the new system, with the new changes that are happening. Ownership. Treat every project like it's your own company. I have almost 20 years experience in the market. And my first salary was 80 euros, 80, when I was in high school. And I performed equally the same for the 80 euros salary and 4,000. So it's extremely important to respect your work, to give everything you have and know for the work, and trust me that it comes back to you in the best possible way you can imagine. So it's not like I felt that that's my company or that I did it for someone. I did it for myself. I always went extra miles for everything that I did, and then offers just popped up, not just in smaller countries but globally. For whatever work you do, it's your reputation that will actually give you more and more opportunities. And once you build this reputation that you are a professional person, you go the extra mile, you do a lot of work, then people come and look for you. So either as whether you have your own company or you work for someone, I think it's extremely important to think on this mindset shift from the passive participant to a structured driver of success. So this is my last slide, and this is my link that I told you. I just wanted to show. It's unclickable from the slide, but you could also check it. And I'm letting more time for questions and answers from students, because also we discussed that this is more like a discussion with other students, firstly regarding the lecture, but also if they have other questions regarding entrepreneurship, I'm very much interested to answer. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that insightful and inspiring session. You mentioned that business is simply solving a problem. Now, how can students identify the right problem on work based on their regular lives?
As I mentioned, it's important to be an observer. So you talk to students, to your peers, and they constantly complain about well-being. You can start from that and say, like, okay, what exactly is bothering you? What could be something that can actually help you? And then once you start talking to different people, you will actually find the solution for that, which you can build it up. So again, it's like everywhere that you are, even if teachers are using a different approach, like you have in-person or online type of lectures, and you see that something is missing, you can either build a platform that is much easier compared to what you're using in your university, or give recommendation to the school to say, like, okay, I believe this is what you should change. So you can even change a system instead of just a company.
Can you give us an example?
From students, you mean in general? Okay, I can give you some examples of my own students and some of other experiences. When I started to teach entrepreneurship and innovation, it was the healthcare students that had zero information when it comes to businesses or economy in general, because all they were taught was about the healthcare and well-being. So it was their first time hearing the word pitch as a pitch presentation of your ideas. But what happened is they had my class, which is entrepreneurship and innovation, where each of the team, which usually are up to 3 people, will have to come up with an idea that they are trying to solve within this whole course that I teach. So in the end, they have to have a pitch presentation for 5 minutes for the solution that they are offering. One of the teams, I encouraged them to participate in a hackathon here in Kosovo. And from there, they were picked, the first one from Kosovo, which was only one team from Kosovo, to go to Finland and participate in the Slush conference, which is one of the biggest one for the tech industry. So if that happened with students with zero skills when it comes to business and to thoughts of entrepreneurship, I believe that there's a possibility for every student to think that they can change. Their idea was about pensionists, so elderly people still have to go physically to to the offices to show that they're alive, which is like a very painful process for all these elderly 65 plus people. So they created this online system that can work very well, not just for elderly, because we also understand that they're not tech savvy as youngsters, but they always have someone that takes care of them. So either family or like whoever is in charge of these people can be linked with an ID and with an email and message so that they can do it very fast. And this was all done with zero investment, so only their time. So I think that that's one of the examples that can make huge difference in
Okay,
business wise.
okay, thank you so much. Now, the last question for you. You emphasized on the importance of network and community. So, what advice would you like to give the students to build a strong and supportive network from an early age?
Um, it's the cheapest to try as early as possible, I would say, because once you have kids and family and financial obligation, things get a little more difficult. So when you're a student, you should search for other students that are like-minded like you. And when I say like-minded, all you need to have is to have similar vision, similar mindset. You might have different ideas, you might have different opinions, you might be challenging each other, but it's important to think that both of you, let's say as peers, think big, think like, okay, it actually is possible to go somewhere, to do something. And everything starts from small projects in school. So you actually test yourself, and that's business basically. You do a work together. It's this marshmallow effect that I usually do with students, starting from this spaghetti and marshmallow that you have to fix it with a glue to make the tower in the end. So there you can see whether your colleague is frustrated or not, because once we test each other as human beings in something that is tough, then you understand whether you want to continue having the friendship and working with this person or not. So from these small projects that you have in school, you actually realize whether you can do something more. And that something more can be either having a joint venture or creating something for each other or simply supporting each other to elevate each other. So I think that this period of education is extremely important to spend time with each other. Unfortunately, after COVID time, most of the things are online, which I think it's a lot more difficult to create this human to human collaboration like it was, for instance, for my generation, where we were obligated to spend time with people, and that's how we also found who has common things with us. And it's been 12 years that I did my master degree, and I'm still in touch with many of them. Some of my colleagues are working for a senior position at IBM or other well-known companies. So, even though we are apart from each other in different countries, I can have a call and do some work with these people, because there was the relationship that we created as students that will last for a while, especially those that were tested more than others.
Okay, so one last question. Men in entrepreneurship and women in entrepreneurship is not actually the same thing. So, what advice would you like to give the women?
Trusting yourself, very, very important.
That's amazing.
Women never trust themselves. They always think that they're smaller than they are. Compared to men, men are risk takers, women are risk averse. We calculate too much, men don't. I think this is the biggest challenge. And of course, some women are more how to say, more privileged to be grown in a family where family relatives push them too much to believe in them, and of course they make the difference. But many of them usually would say like, oh, you have to be kind, you have to be this, you have to be that, you're a woman.
Back to sacrifice.
Yeah, sacrifice is also extremely important because men don't sacrifice. It's all these hats that are sticked or glued in us as women compared to men that are they are always told that you're the man, you shouldn't cry, you're the boss, you're the leader, you're this, you're the protector. So all of the different wording that are used for the two genders then are different when it comes to creating a business. And most of the women, even statistically and globally, not specifically on a country, they are more social entrepreneurs because they are impact driven compared to men that are more money oriented. So even when it comes to doing business, they would still look for different things, men and women. But I think those that want to be in business, I would say choose your be very, very careful where you're surrounding yourself with, because especially for women, it's very easy to put a lot of words. Like the cost of sexism books explains that where women get up to 1,500 words when it comes to their leadership, whereas men usually it's regarding 5 or 7, and usually are related to, oh, he's a scientist or he's a very math person, look at his style, or maybe he doesn't have a good day today. So usually it's more mild compared to women that have enormous number of words that can be said. And then it's not easy to make the skin thicker because we're humans. So of course, if we hear constantly bad words towards us, it's not so easy to stand tall and say like, okay, I don't care, because we care, but we just get used to that.
Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for your time and valuable insights. And thank you, everyone, for being such a wonderful audience. We hope this session inspires you to take your first step towards entrepreneurship. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure